Hello and welcome to this Autodesk Fusion 360 training program. My name is Nalin Randhania. In this short video series, I'm going to walk you through the basic introductory training of Fusion 360. That means getting to know the user interface very well and also performing basic modeling. Through that, I'm going to explain you the basic design principles such as parametric design, freeform design. You may also know that as sculpting, and also how to produce engineering drawings. How you properly uh, communicate your design with potential manufacturers and so on, and also how to produce photorealistic images of your design or your concept using built-in rendering feature. Finally, in if applicable, I can also show you how to optimize your design for 3D printing as well. The primary part of your training, the purpose of this training is providing you the individual support that you need for your design project. So I have already received some images, samples of your projects. So I will create individual short videos that focusing on your design and what specific design techniques and principles you can employ to bring your concept into a full-blown CAD model. So before we get into Fusion, just a little bit about myself. I have more than 10 years of experience in CAD, computer-aided designing, and CAE, computer-aided engineering software. I first exposed to them when I was doing my bachelor's in robotics and mechatronics. I started with a software called SolidWorks, but I wish I had a software like Fusion 360 back then to start with, because for a beginner, Fusion 360 I find as the best starting tool. It's very powerful, but still I find it's very user friendly and easy to work around. All right, so then when I came to Australia for my master's, there I exposed to much more advanced CAD software and some other techniques. Currently, I'm doing my PhD research in virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence, and how to implement them into education and industrial training to improve the quality of it. All right, so without further ado, let's start with Fusion 360. Let's go ahead and open up Fusion 360. In my case, I have a desktop shortcut I can double click. Also, I can always go to search bar and type Fusion 360, click it, and that will open. Even though I have opened that in my computer through a installed software, Fusion works in a different way than most of the traditional software. Fusion is a hybrid of online plus cloud CAD software. So that means all of the data storage and some of the data processing is done over cloud. Over cloud, I mean a bunch of Autodesk servers located somewhere far away. You might have a question, okay, that means we can't work offline? You certainly can work in Fusion 360 even without internet. In fact, Fusion has an offline mode right here. There's an offline mode. You can work even if you don't have the internet connection. But Fusion does not provide a facility to save your work locally. All the work you do, all the modeling, all the designs you do in the Fusion environment will be saved in Autodesk Cloud through your account. But don't worry, you will not lose your work in case you lost the internet. It will be stored in your memory, in your computer memory there's a location called cache memory. It will be saved there. The moment you have the internet connection back on, it will be synchronized back again and save your work where they're meant to be. All right, so without further ado, let's go into this user interface and get ourselves familiarized. I heard through your teacher that you have been exposed before to Fusion 360. You may know already how to work around, but still I'll give you a quick walkthrough. on the user interface. So start from the top left corner. I have this data panel. Okay, I'm inside the project right now. So let me go back to home page by clicking on this home button. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like when you open up Fusion 360 data panel for the first time. If you have previous projects, it will be located in this section here. And also when you go down, there are some sample models you can investigate. Just open up and see how they done. And let me go. Let me take you inside one of the projects that I have. Just simply double click. That will take you to this project page. So even in your design project, you can have all the project related documents, your PDFs, images, all stored in here. This is basically uh, multi file format supporting environment. And the other beautiful thing is, you see up here you got data and also people. What does that mean is this is a collaborative uh, software that you're looking at. Fusion 360 is a collaborative CAD software that you can have multiple people engaged and doing the same project together. And when you make a design, all the people here listed here, I mean, they all connected, they all gonna get notified when there's a change made, so on and so forth. So in this data page, you can create new folders and you can have sketches. So you can have all the sketches stored in there. You can have them in a much more organized manner. Okay, so let me go back to this, click on this home button and create a new project, and I'll give it a name, my design project. Okay, so my design project, and let me go inside. Okay, so all the designs you make, you can store in here. So that way things are much more organized. So I recommend you to follow that format. Okay, the last thing I want to show you about this data panel organization is, let me go back one level. So go into this project. Okay, so there's a little settings wheel button here. So if you go there, you can see you are given the option to sort by last updated, sort by name, and also you can view them as grid or as a list. So you got some options here to keep yourself organized in this environment. All right, so that's enough of that. So the next button here is about the file. You can start a new design, and even though I said you cannot save your files locally in the sense save in those uh, your drives, your D drive or C drive or whatever the hard disk drives, you can still export your models in multiple file formats. Okay, so I'll talk more about this when we when we have some designs on the board. Okay, so I just want to show where to get it done. So saving, of course, and then all the designs you do, they come in a format of tabs. So I can do some design here, then I can open up a new design. That will be another tab. Example, if I go ahead and open up this, double click this corner test, and that will be opening up in a new panel, sorry, new tab. There you go. So it works in a browser kind of a setup. So I'll close this one off for now, this one too, and then I have the extensions. uh, you can customize or you can add in some features uh, specifically for additive manufacturing, things like 3D printing. There are some add-ins you can purchase into 3D Autodesk 360 with a dedicated tool set. Okay, so let's not worry about that for now. And then the job status, remember last time I showed you, you can go online or offline. You can control what mode you are in right now. Okay, then we have your name will be appearing here, whatever the name you provide for the Autodesk account. So when you click on that, you can see preferences. So when you click on preferences button, the window will pop up that will allows you to set up this Fusion 360 environment. For an example, if you have prior experience with another CAD software, it will allow you to change this panning, zooming, and orbiting shortcuts because those are very important when you're doing some modeling, the orientation of the model, how to change that. So you can have those presets change based on SolidWorks or Inventor and other softwares. And the other important thing you need to check is default units. So make sure you go to default unit and check, go to design, make sure that is in millimeters. So millimeters preferred, you can have either millimeters, meters or centimeters because these are the metric measurements, but try not to use inches or feet in case you are planning to do any manufacturing or 3D printing. Stick with the metric measurements, so millimeters preferred. All right, so that's about the very top layer. Then we are talking about this ribbon section. So let me open up one of the slides I have that explains you different parts of the user interface. All right, so I got this slide just to give you the introduction of the names of individual components of the interface. But when you through application, you will learn about how to use them and you will learn more about them. So now, number one we already discussed about is the application bar. Then number two, which is the profile and help menu. Then the menu that we about to talk about, the toolbar section. So we call usually in the Autodesk language, we call this a ribbon because it looks like a ribbon that put buttons, a whole bunch of buttons together. Then we got the view cube. So we can press and hold the mouse pointer on that. You can rotate around and you can change the view of the object. You got the browser on the left side, number 5 right here, basically just give in the list view of each and every object you have. Then we got canvas and marking menu. It's just basically a shortcut. When you click on an object, it just gives you some shortcuts and some different actions you can take with that object. Then down here below we got the timeline. Basically it gives you a progression of your model. Then the navigation bar and display settings. So all these I will explain you in the tool in the view cube with some object in the workspace. Okay, this is just for introducing you the names. Okay, back to the lesson. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this toolbar section. So let's start with very left corner. We have this drop down list. It's basically we call it a workspace selection button. So workspaces, we got design, generative design, render, animation, simulation, so on and so forth. So workspace, what do I mean by the workspace? So that is nothing but a well configured environment with dedicated set of tools. Some in the tools I mean some buttons here that configured for clearly distinguishable area or stage of your design. So first we have, by default we have the design section. In here you can see solid modeling, surface modeling, sheet metal modeling, and some other tools that related for designing. When you go to, for an example, I would say rendering. So that's a different stage of your work. That means most of the time you do go for rendering. When you finish your work, then you can create some photorealistic images for presentation purposes to showcase your work. And animation, then you can see the whole workspace has changed. So now down below you got a timeline, so you can do timing to showcase some interactions among some sub-assemblies within your assembly and some parts of your model, things like that. So that explains what is a workspace. So let's go back to design. All right, so uh, in this toolbar, so right now we are in the design workspace, and inside there we got different. Right now we are in the solid modeling tab. There we got different panels: create panel, modify panel, and assemble, construct, and all these things. Each of these tabs have their corresponding panels. That the panels are nothing but similar functionality buttons clustered together. So it's basically easy to recognize and easy to access. Okay, so each tab and each panel, Autodesk has put some buttons already, thinking those are the buttons that their end user will be using most of the time. And one more thing I want to show you here is, notice when you hover your mouse on top of the buttons, there's something drops down here, and even graphically, it's just showing you what that button does. So that we call a tooltip. So each button will have a tooltip showing there, explaining you in words what that button does. And also there's a nice picture also as well. It just gives you an idea. Okay, so that is what the button does. So how easy is that? That's what we call the user friendliness. Anyway, so we don't have to stick with these buttons that Autodesk provided to us, and you can there's a button, this name of the panel itself is a drop down list, not a drop down list, it's just a rollout menu, I would say, a list of buttons. So you got all the other options available here. So if you, let's start with some basic primitives. You can have click on this box right here. If you want to use this any of these buttons in frequent basis, you can add them into this uh, panel right here. So that way, just a one click of a button, you can activate that button. So how do we do that? Let's click on this create button, then just say box. When you hover over that, again the tooltip appears, and there's a three dots appear here. When you click on that, and you can add it to the toolbar. There you go, it's added to that. And the other beautiful thing is you can also click on, now I'm clicking on the cylinder, and you can have a keyboard shortcut for that particular button, and just say that is for the cylinder. If I say C, it says C already been allocated for some other button. It's going to be pretty hard to find a shortcut that not been allocated for something. Okay, so I put letter Y and okay. So now if you go down, cylinder is Y, letter Y. So then if I press letter Y in the keyboard, now it's asking me which plane I'm going to place my cylinder. So let me escape. So if I press on the escape key on the keyboard, now I'm out of that command. So these are basically buttons, but we call them, they are commands. So then when you click on that, I'm activating the box command. When I activate the box command, the next item is finding out where do I place it? Where do I select as my base for the box? And we got options here. And this is a three axis, uh, three planes we are looking at here. So, and you can see these colors as well, right? Blue color, red color, green color. They are corresponding to what we have here in this view cube. Notice I got this view cube, and when I press and hold anywhere and rotate around, and we can see my drawing planes also rotating along with that. Let's go ahead and place this box somewhere. So what I'm going to do, first click is going to select the plane. There you go. Now I'm going to select, the cross section of the box is basically a rectangle, right? So what Fusion is asking now to select the first corner of the rectangle. So I just select on the origin here. Now there you go. So it's dynamically changing values and asking me to select the length and width. So you can use this grid system that incrementing 5 millimeters at a time. It just basically, you can, when you move your mouse pointer, you can see it's snapping to those grid points. You can also simply just type a number. I would say 120. There you go. And that's the length. When I press on tab key, notice I have locked one of the dimensions now, and it's changing the other dimension dynamically. I can type a number for that as well. I would say 90. And when I press enter, notice what happens. There you go. It just created the box for me. I can still press from these arrows to change my the basic dimensions I gave here, 90 and 120. And then now the main thing it's asking us to enter is the height, because that's the other element that makes that a box. So by default it has given me 5 here, and you can change it similarly by dragging up. So dragging the box up or down, either way is working here. Or you can enter simply a number here. So just say 60 and press enter. Now that is the box. Okay. So now, since we have something on the workspace now, let me show you the mouse operation here. So I'm doing this operation. That means we call this panning. So panning is simply done with the mouse is pressing and holding the middle mouse button, which is the roller. Uh, so most of the computer mouse these days have this button. Otherwise, when you go to this navigation toolbar, you got this button called pan. So when you press that, you can also do the panning here. So, but what I always recommend, and it's very easy to get used to when you're using the middle mouse button. Press and hold, you can pan your model. And also, the scroller rolling backward and forward, it just zoom in and zoom in out the model. This is very important when you are working on a 3D model. And what's the most important tool navigation option is this one, rotating around. We call that orbiting, actually, orbiting around the model. When you're working on 3D model, you need to look from different angles. So this is a very important navigation option, I would say. So that's simply done with, again, the mouse. But remember what we did about panning. Press and hold the middle mouse button. You do the same thing by pressing and hold the shift key on the keyboard and press and hold the middle mouse button of the mouse. Keyboard shift button and the middle mouse button. Now it's rotating around the pivot point. You can see there's a blue color bubble somewhere there, but when you click somewhere else, now that is becoming your oh no, actually you need to change that separately. I'll come back to that later. Okay, so that is the box. One more thing I want to show you here. Now that we got a box here, notice what happened down in this section. What do I call this bar, remember? So this is a timeline. It just keep tracking on what we have done in this workspace. So if I click on that, it just selects it, and you can right click on it and you can go edit feature. Now I'm again back in where we were when we just created the box. So it allows you to change all these parameters again. Okay, so let's go ahead and create something else in the same workspace. So I go create again and do Y. I have remember we have the keyboard shortcut. Let's press letter Y on keyboard. Now it's asking where do I place it. Okay, I'll use the same plane. Now it's asking me to click the center of the cylinder, the circular face. Okay, once I do that, now I can change. I can give a value for the diameter. So just say I'd say yeah, 65. There you go. Now the next item is the height. Okay, so click on so I can give a number there. So one thing I would notice here is, which I didn't explain last time, is okay, diameter, height is all good, then the operation. So I got options here: new body, join, cut, intersect. Yeah, new body and new component. So what do I mean by, so what are those things? So if I leave them as new body, I'm going to say okay, so okay, so now that's a new body. I will take you to this browser now. So go, please pay attention to this browser thingy. And this right arrow means I have something inside there. When you can click on that to expand it. Now I've got body 2, which is the box, and body 3, which is the cylinder. Why I'm missing body 1? Because that's something, that is the cylinder I was going to draw last time. So you can also always click on them, click, leave a second and click on it and give it a name, box, and here cylinder. So they are different bodies. And if I create another shape, so I'll go create and create a sphere, and I create that sphere on the, maybe this plane here. And now I've been asked to find the center of the sphere and the diameter of the sphere. Let's say 50. Notice by default it just selected a cut. If I make it any bigger, just say 80. There you go. I'm taking parts of both this box and the cylinder. So, and I think it already accepted that. If I want to change it, I'm gonna need to go back to the timeline. Notice I have a box now, cylinder, and the sphere here. So I right click on this sphere and go edit feature, and instead of cut, I'm gonna go join and say okay. So now that's a joint feature. So if I go here now, if I go to bodies, and all of them are joined together. Okay, so let's go ahead and create another shape. What is that? Just say torus. I'll select, yeah, this plane. Okay. All right, so that's gonna make a nice channel on my on this box here. So by default, Fusion decided, I mean, suggested that to be a cut operation. So let's leave it like that. Okay, so now this is basically how we draw some primitives. We haven't done anything like parametric or proper CAD modeling yet. So this is just to get you into this modeling. So I would leave you some time to get used to this one before I start the next video. Practice drawing some shapes, uh, practice these operations, and you just get some familiarity in this environment. One last thing before I finish this first video, I want to show you is this selection. If I click on this each object, I'm selecting face by face. Okay, so I won't be able to delete if I select on the face. If I want to get rid of some of these selections you made, so I could do that with the torus. You can see that's delete face. It didn't go through that well. It just deleted one face there. So how do I select of individual shapes? One way, the couple of ways you can do. You can always select from the timeline. You can select the torus here and delete it. Now that's the whole torus is gone. And the other thing is just drawing, like drawing a window and selecting them. Even here, there are two different ways of doing it. So notice when I go from all these two motions I'm talking, they are downward motions. So left to right. If I do that, you can see it's a solid line box with a slight orange shaded box. If I select, try to select making, if I try to do a window select with that sort of a selection, notice I only selected that face. But if I go from right to left, I selected everything. Notice that. So try that yourself and try to find the difference, and you can pause the video and if you want to some time to figure out by yourself. Always feel free to do that in this video series, just because I'm gonna just, not unlike a classroom, I just keep going in this video. So if you want to just try it yourself and experience yourself before I just reveal the surprise, just pause my video and practice it yourself. So in this, the difference is this left to right selection with a solid line, it selects only the items that fully encompassed in that window. Notice here, I get a bit closer now. I go from left to right. As soon as I pass that line, edge of the box, whole box is selected. But you go from right to left, anything that touch it selects. Now if I just barely touch this cylinder, that's selected. Even selected the box because there is a joint feature. So those are the two different selection methods. Okay. All right, so I'll finish the first video here. In the next video, I'll be talking about parametric modeling that based on some certain parameters and basically based on sketches. So we'll start from sketches the next window. All right, thank you very much. Bye.